kids. Learn how to recognize heat exhaustion, treat sunburn, and bug bites. Know when a summer earache or allergy flare-up means it's time to see a doctor. Listen live this Saturday on WVON and Facebook. The Community Health Focus Hour, Saturdays at 1 p.m., powered by the Urban Health Initiative of UChicago Medicine at the forefront.
The following is paid programming. The views are not necessarily those of this station. It's the Acclivus Hour on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
Been shattered. My road took some turns. I've tumbled and hurt, but keep getting up.
Good morning, and welcome to the Acclivus Hour. Thank you to our studio engineer, Robert. Yes, Robert, thank you. Thank you for getting me set up in here. Now, Robert did ask me what song that I want. I'm like, now, usually I like upbeat stuff, but that's okay. We'll work on that for next week. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Acclivus Hour. I'm your co-host, Katrina Waddy, Public Education Director for Acclivus. Your co-host, Bamani Obadelli, Community Engagement Director for Acclivus, is out today. Acclivus is a nonprofit organization that looks at violence through a public health lens as we work to build safe, peaceful, economically thriving communities. And we do that by offering several free services and resources designed to prevent, de-escalate, and mitigate violence in 5 categories. We have our street outreach team that works in 11 high violence communities across Cook County, Harvey, and Champaign, Illinois. Our hospital response team works in partnership with 6 hospitals or trauma centers across the city. We have our behavioral health team that provides therapeutic services for victims and survivors of violence and their families. And then we have technical training, workforce development, and mentoring assistance that's offered to our program participants, partnering organizations, and our staff. Acclivus Reentry Services is something that we've announced rather recently, although we've always been providing that access to justice type of services, but that assists newly released and formerly incarcerated individuals with maintaining healthy lifestyles by promoting pathways to successful community reintegration and decreasing social isolation. And then through a partner initiative that's implemented with state departments and city organizations, we offer the Peacekeepers or Flatlining Violence Inspires Peace program. And then finally, we provide training and funding support to numerous sub-grantee partners or indigenously led community organizations that are also working to keep our neighborhoods safe. We're led by Levon Stone Sr., who leverages his lived experiences in Chicago streets to promote second chances throughout the entire Acclivus organization. And you can learn more about us on our website at www.acclivusinc, that's ACCLIVUS Inc.org. You can follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X or Twitter, and LinkedIn, and that's at Acclivus Inc. And you can always call us at 312-766-7145. And we always start every show by taking a moment to acknowledge anyone who's listening, who's either experienced violence or is connected to someone who's experienced violence this week in any form. We always say that violence hits closer and closer to home, and I'm sure most of you are, obviously we know all the violent incidents that make the news, but I think the one that touched me the most this week was the young lady that was found in the dumpster. And that one, that just, to discard somebody, first of all, to kill anybody, but then to discard their body like they're just trash, that just, as a woman, that just really kind of struck at my soul a little bit. And so we just always want you to know that, we're keeping you, your neighborhood, your families we're always virtually wrapping our arms around you and keeping you in our prayers, keeping you lifted in our prayers, and just encourage folks to take advantage of and share everything that Acclivus has to offer to victims of violence and their families. And just always know that we're here for you as best as we can. And, if we can't help, we certainly will be able to refer you to some different resources. Today, speaking of that tragedy, we're going to be talking with our behavioral health team. We've got Trinae Bates and Aaliyah Razik from our behavioral health team, who will be talking to us about mental health as well as domestic violence, just that intersection of domestic violence and mental health. And so we invite you to join the conversation. We've already got some folks on hold now, but you can call the studio here at 773-591-1690, or you can watch us live via the WVON and the Acclivus Inc. Facebook page. Before we bring on our guests, and we might even have Vaughn on today too to talk about something special that's going on tomorrow. We'll talk about that in just a second. But before we bring on our guests, we're going to quickly shout out our sponsors. We've got the UIC Social Work Policy Center, the Illinois Department of Human Services, Office of Gun Violence Prevention, our friends at the Michael Reese Health Trust Foundation, the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, or ICJA, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, the Chicago Department of Public Health. And we just want to, again, thank each of those organizations for their generous support that helps make not only this show, but our work possible. I'm going to adjust this camera real quick. All right. So what if we were able to have Vaughn on, what we wanted to talk about with him is just highlight an event that's happening tomorrow. Vaughn is celebrating 20 years working in community violence intervention, or CVI work, as a full-time paid Social Security number recognized employee. And so we just want to show him some love and celebrate all he's done over these past 20 years and the lives he's had a positive impact on, not only throughout Acclivus, throughout our organization, but obviously, it just permeates throughout Chicago communities, really across the state, especially through his work with Ceasefire as well. But you can learn a little bit more about Vaughn's story on our website. But Acclivus itself is also celebrating 8 years doing this work. And so Sunday, July 19th, from 2 to 7 p.m. at Abbott Park, which is right off of 95th and State Street, right on the baseball diamonds. We're going to be having a big community picnic. I think it's something that Vaughn and some friends, some other folks at Acclivus have done on their own for years, maybe haven't done it for maybe the past year or two, but we're bringing back just the old school picnic, and just folks can come out and either bring their own grills or, bring your lawn chairs and all that. We also will have some great food. We've got burgers and dogs. I think we're doing beef and turkey burgers and dogs, I think. We're going to have some great delicious side dishes. Shout out to Aaron, who's doing the grilling on that end. Shout out to Nadia, who's providing spaghetti and macaroni and cheese and baked beans and I think some greens. So we'll have that. A lot of our partnering organizations are going to be out there. Team Outreach Services is planning to bring a grill and provide some food for everybody. And big shout out to Black Being United. They are bringing, I don't know, I heard something about some fried fish. I heard them, they were talking about putting some steak on the grill, some other delicious food items. So they'll be out there with that. And then they also, Black Men United does it big with their giveaways. And so they will also have a giveaway of some big stuff. Terry didn't want to tell me everything they're planning to give away, but they just said the way they do it, they're about to do it again tomorrow. And so we invite you all to come out and not only have a good time, of course, we're going to have a DJ, bounce houses, and just some good old fun. So no structured program, because that's not the way Vaughn is. We were trying to do this buttoned up with, at a venue and, have this day of information and all that. And, Vaughn's like, hey, let's just keep it simple. I want to be able to connect with the folks in the community and talk to folks folks and, be able to do that in a relaxed atmosphere. And I think the community picnic is definitely indicative of, and just representative of the way of Vaughn. And so I'm glad we're doing it that way. So again, you're all invited to come out tomorrow, Sunday, July 19th from 2 to 7 p.m. at Abbott Park. Again, if you want a place to sit, bring your own chair, or we will have tents and tables and chairs as well. But again, if you want to bring your own grill out, you can do that too. But if not, just come out and and get you a bite to eat. We got old school candy. I think Cool organization is providing some old school candy, like the Candy Lady candy store stuff, and we'll have cookies and pop and juice and water. And so again, just come on out and have a good time. So again, that's celebrating 8 years in CVI work for Acclivus and 20 years for our co-founder and CEO, LaVon Stone Sr. So if he gets a chance to dial in, he can tell you a little bit more about it, and I'll remind you about it at the end of the show. But with that, we're going to bring on Trinae and Aaliyah. Let me see if I can get them on. Hey, Trinae. Oh, did I hang up on Trinae? Trinae and Aaliyah. I am just Robert. I'm like, I know you're like, has she done this before? I promise you I have. Sorry about that. Trinae is going to come back on, but we're going to bring them on to just kind of tell us a little bit about an event that they hosted a couple of weekends ago. It might have been the Juneteenth weekend, but they hosted a really nice event in Altgeld Gardens, talking to folks in that community about domestic violence. Look, should I bring Trinae on? Let me see if I can bring you on again. Did I? Now I'm scared. Okay, I think they're. Hey, Aaliyah. Good morning. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I think we're bringing Trinae on again. Let me see. Trinae, I'm doing the same thing I did before. Hey, Trinae.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't think I did that. I think you did that.
No, you did that. That was you.
Sorry. Good morning, ladies. Welcome back to the Acclivus Hour. I'm not sure, one of you guys might have a little bit of background noise, so you might want to either turn your phone down, or if you're not.
Can't really hear.
You can't really hear us, Trinae?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Yeah, there was a little bit of background feedback. But yeah, again, welcome to the show. Thank you all so much for getting up early and sharing not only this monthly thing that we're doing, which is talking about mental health and behavioral health and support services and things like that. But I thought this was a good time too to, in light of the young lady that was found in the dumpster this week. I know, I don't know that it's confirmed that it was domestic violence, that domestic violence was involved in her death, but just thought it was a good time to kind of talk about the intersection of behavioral health, mental health, and domestic violence. And so I thought you all might want to first introduce yourselves again to our listeners. Tell us how you got to do and how you came to Acclivus doing this kind of work, and then maybe give us a little synopsis of the event that you all held in Altgeld Gardens. The month it was last month, so maybe tell us a little bit about that. So, Trinae, let's start with you.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Like Miss Katrina said, my name is Trinae. I am the Director of Behavioral Health over at Acclivus. I've been with Acclivus for about 3-4 years now, started as a therapist and moved right on up. I've been working in behavioral health, mental health since 2012, so I have a lot of firsthand experience on the ground, in the hospital setting, just a lot of different experience with behavioral health and mental health, everything along those lines. I'm super passionate about people, specifically my people, the forgotten population. And I really just love empowering people, reminding them of their strength, their power, how important they are, and that it's okay to not be okay. So that's what kind of landed me and keeps me in this field of behavioral health and with this amazing organization, Acclivus.
Great. Thank you so much. And Aaliyah, introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Aaliyah. I am a licensed social worker, and I do therapy. I'm a therapist at Acclivus. I've been in the a mental health field, I feel, since 2023. When I graduated, I kind of just jumped into case management, DCFS, psychiatric hospital work. And I just like helping people. I feel like a lot of people just don't know a lot about resources, and I want to be able to provide them with, additional help and being that voice for them when they might not feel like they have one in the moment.
Thank you. And thank you all so much again for the work you all do. I am one of those people that has taken advantage or continue to take advantage of the free mental health and therapy services that you all provide. And so, Trinae, shout out to you and the entire behavioral health team for just the patience and concern and compassion and empathy and empowerment you all give to, I would imagine, all of your clients. So thanks so much for that. Trinae, tell us a little bit, or both of y'all, but tell us a little bit about the event that you all hosted in Altgeld Gardens. I don't know if we necessarily labeled it as exactly domestic violence, but I think we talked about it as kind of being a mental health empowerment kind of activity. But tell us a little bit about that event, and then I want to dive into some of the key takeaways or learnings or information that you all shared during that event.
Okay. Yeah, so we framed it and we named the event Protecting Our Peace. It was a healing and empowerment workshop. So we discussed promoting healthy relationships and emotional wellness, increasing understanding of self-worth and boundaries. We connected the participants with community resources, and we just tried to create a safe, trauma-informed space that felt comfortable for healing. So as I mentioned, and we had each therapist kind of break down different areas. So for example, we talked about healthy relationships. So just talking about like trust, respect, communication, accountability, support. What makes you feel emotionally safe? What are some signs of unhealthy relationships? And how do unhealthy relationships affect our mental health? So it really was a domestic violence event. And it was a lot of domestic violence, psychoeducation and resources shared, but we framed it as more of protecting our peace, healing ourselves type of environment, workshop situation, because domestic violence typically has like a really negative connotation, and it's not as normalized as it should be because it happens more than it should happen. So we knew that it would kind of scare a lot of people who needed the information if we just put like on the flyer and if we marketed the event as domestic violence, because it's like raw, scary topic. It's really like, no, this is really normal, and we need to talk about these things. How can you identify if you are in a domestic violence relationship? Because sometimes people identify those behaviors as a form of love, and this person cares about me, when that in reality that's not necessarily what it is. So that's what we really tried to push forward in the event. We talked about stressors, writing down stressors that they have, any signs that they have that they may be struggling with mental health concerns, and we just discussed like some healthy coping skills they can utilize. We also talked about boundaries. Boundaries is super important. Boundaries and self-worth. Asking why do people struggle to say no? How do boundaries protect our peace? What is self-worth? Things along those lines. And we also, as I mentioned, we try to reduce the stigma surrounding mental health, surrounding domestic violence, and letting people know that support is available. Acclivus, we are a big resource to behavioral health team. We have a lot of therapists on staff. We actually have a master's level intern starting soon, so she'll be able to provide some clinical services to help us continue to reach out and meet the needs of the community.
Yeah. Aaliyah, let me ask you this too. Typically when folks think about domestic violence, we always obviously think about women, but I saw from some of the photos, it looked like there was a pretty mixed crowd. Tell us about the folks that were in the audience, but the participants who attended, and then kind of what did you glean from them as far as how they were receiving the information that was shared?
Yeah, I think it was a wide range of like both men and women. I think the conversations we were having were super engaging. A lot of men were giving their insight on, maybe some of the issues they are going through, and the women were kind of touching points to that as well. So it was, I believe, like the conversations were really engaging, and I think that they got a lot from it.
What were some of them? Because I'm digging into the men a little bit more because we've got Cliff, Brother Chris, and Tommy on hold right now. What were some of the comments from some of the men? What were some of those perspectives that they were sharing?
They were sharing like some things about like toxic relationships that they've been in, and trying to like overcome not being toxic anymore. and like the women were adding to that as well, of course. And it was just more so like trying to figure out like, if I were to get into a relationship, what would that look like next? How do I overcome my own toxic traits to be able to become a better person for the next person that I choose to be with? So a lot of conversations about relationships.
Aaliyah, let me ask you this: who's talking about relationships, and this is touchy. Did any of them, or men or women, talk about how some of this starts with the mother? And I know that's don't nobody talk about my mama, but like some of this stuff comes from behaviors seen, good and bad, from their relationship with their moms. Did anybody touch on that when you talked about the toxic relationship part?
Yeah, I think we did touch on that about like the generational trauma, how hurt people, and a lot of things. The way people act is learned behavior at the end of the day. So you have to get to the root of that. And then I think we rooted it back to, going to therapy, of course. So, if you have someone, if you have a behavior or toxic pattern that, you can root back to, because when I was 15, this happened, then it's important to be able to unpack that and address it with somebody so that you can start moving in a healthy way when it comes to relationships, romantically, platonic, family relationships, friendships, things like that.
Yeah. Trinae, what would you say too were some of the key takeaways? I mean, not only with some of the resources and information that you all provided, but then also, from like, what do you think most folks left there saying, oh, wow, I learned a little bit I learned a different way of thinking about or approaching this or that. What were some of those insights or key takeaways?
That's a great question. So I'm pulling back up the kind of like a list of the things that we discussed, because we really tackled a lot of things in a short amount of time. We were with them for about an hour and a half. So the main things that we really were just trying to get people to leave with is realizing their own strength, their own power, because a lot of the time people feel like, well, they have their power taken away within relationships, and they feel hopeless. They feel like there is no other solutions, and there is no way out, especially if they do identify that they're in a domestic violence relationship, because that's one of the scariest times in people's lives is when they are trying to remove themselves and when they're trying to get away from this person. So we were really just trying to just inform them that they do have power, that there are resources, there are supports out there, and they just got to feel comfortable enough to utilize them. So that was the main thing we were really trying to just push to people. And I also wanted to kind of touch on what you just said about like the trauma, and people may be kind of witnessing these things as children. A lot of people really do not recognize that domestic violence is not love, especially if they witnessed it or experienced like trauma in childhood. They may like associate jealousy with control, or like the highs and lows of the emotions with being in love. They feel like those patterns are normal, and they really should not be. So we were really trying to push that healing involves learning that healthy love feels safe, it's consistent, it's peaceful, it's respectful. So when we were talking about those healthy relationships, we were really trying to highlight what it should look like, what love really is, how love really does show up, and then kind of talk about the negative sides that people feel like are love. So we had a lot for people to take away. Honestly, it was a great event.
I know it was, and I think too. I think one of the big things that I look at for Acclivus, we are at our core conflict mediators, and so I think that sometimes in relationships, with romantic ones, parental ones, whatever, I think we don't always understand that conflict is inevitable, and it's just how you mediate it. And so can you either of you kind of touch on, when you look at, because there are going to be disagreements, there are going to be things that arise, the two people aren't going to always agree with everything all the time. And so when that does happen, and some of the, I'm going to call them conflict mediation skills. There might be a better term for it in you all's line of work. But what are some of those skills or some of those tips that you all share, with looking at, ways to try to mediate conflicts when maybe before they even get violent, just when you can already tell, like, this is already starting to be a little thing here. What kind of advice or tips do you all offer for trying to mediate conflict?
One thing I tell people is to address the issue, don't address the person. So
Oh.
avoid like insults, name calling, or attacking their partner's character because you want to get your point across. You don't want to make the other person feel bad. Like that's not the goal. The goal is to figure out and address whatever that issue is. Like for example, instead of saying like you're selfish, you can say I feel hurt when my opinion wasn't considered, or just like something along those lines.
Good.
Don't attack the person with your words, and use I statements. That kind of reduces the defensiveness of the person you're talking to. Like if you say that I felt unheard when I was interrupted, or I need us to work together to solve this. It's like really about how you talk to people, and you got to practice active listening as well.
Yeah.
So allowing the person to finish speaking and reflecting back what you heard, just to make sure there's no misunderstandings, no assumptions, anything along those lines.
Aaliyah, you want to add anything to that? We might have lost. I don't know, Aaliyah. You might be on mute. Okay.
Well, I got more.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Rattle them off. I'm sorry, Trina. I was thinking about one about, I don't know if they're called superlatives, but when it's just, you always do this, you never do that, those kind of phrases. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think staying respectful, but also being able to regulate your emotions before you respond is super important. So like you said, conflict is unavoidable. It's inevitable. So when things start to get tense or overly emotional, it's okay to take a break before things get overwhelming. Take like a 20, 30-minute break and agree to come back and finish the conversation when emotions are back level. Because people, a lot of people don't know how to control their emotions, and they just go without calm themselves. Take deep breaths, count, go do some self-care, go do something to regulate yourself, take a walk, do something, listen to some calming music, and then try to come back and get to some type of resolve. And don't be so focused on winning the argument, winning the conversation. It's about looking for a solution. How can we solve this together instead of how do I prove to you that I'm right? And what I'm saying is what you need to pay attention to. Like, no, it's not. That's not a healthy way to be in a relationship. And you got to know how to apologize effectively. You got to take responsibility for what you've done. You got to acknowledge the impact. You need to express remorse, but also you have to make change. You have to act, not just talk the game. Your actions have to match the fact that you want to move differently, that you want this relationship to work, so that the same behaviors and patterns won't be repeated.
Yeah. How do you, and we're talking about that accountability part, how do you do that? I'm just going to say, me and my husband have a blow up or, a dispute. And so, maybe we practice the skills of, hey, we're going to step away for a little bit and come back. How do you hold yourself and your partner or your parent or your child accountable for the conversation or the mediation that you all might have started with, either a quick conversation after the argument or after the misunderstanding? What does accountability look like in mediating conflicts?
Well, I feel like having like some type of monthly check-in could be helpful, like a monthly sit down, just in like, hey, I remember we had this conversation, and I just wanted us to check back in, touch bases, and see what changes there have been.
Yeah.
And allow each person to maybe explain what they feel like they've been doing differently, how they've been trying to move differently, and then have the partner confirm, like, yes, I do. I agree with that, and this is how you've done it. I really think that having time where you can praise your partner also when you do recognize change is good.
Yeah.
You have to, this might sound kind of bad, but sometimes you got to treat it like a relationship with a child, rewarding and praising those positive behaviors that you want to see continue. Because people like feeling good. They like being praised. They like being acknowledged. Yeah. So I think that is useful as well. I think a lot of people stop doing that, especially when they are angry and when they're kind of like at odds with their partner.
I wish, and I don't know if this exists, but I wish there was some kind of acronym, like when you recognize the signs of a stroke, the FACE or STOP, whatever these different acronyms are. But where it's like, hey, first, stop, breathe, take a minute, frame your conversation, don't
Yeah, we
forget to
need to do
lead with the
that. We need to make
positive. Yeah,
one.
come up with that little acronym or something for something that's like, oh yeah.
We are going to do that, and we need
Mhm.
to coin all of that.
Yep, absolutely. My friend Manetti is online. She said, "Yeah, these skills should be taught in schools," and I think that starting it younger. And I don't know, are you all any closer to being able to do work, or I thought you mentioned that a while back about trying to do some work in schools? Is that something that behavioral health is still looking to do, or is that?
Yeah, for sure. We we've had a couple events these have been outside of school, but they have been behavioral health events, mental health empowerment events that are strictly for youngers, the teenage age group. But for sure, we are looking into writing. Well, we have a couple proposals written up, and the plan is to go into a couple schools in a lot of the surrounding areas a lot of our areas that we service, just to let them know that this is a service that we have available. So for sure, we are still looking to mentor, support, and provide a lot of these life skills in the schools, because it's definitely needed for sure. You got to get them while they're young so that we can kind of stop some of these thoughts, a lot of these things they may have witnessed, and let them know that there is support and this is how things are supposed to be in a healthy manner.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I think they say do all that stuff kind of before the age of 7, if possible, where you can kind of get that foundation in them of like, okay, let me regulate my emotions a little bit better, and so that I can become an adult that already is used to doing this, So I want to go to the phone lines, unless Aaliyah, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to any of this. I don't know if we lost Aaliyah.
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything before we went to the callers.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go. Cliff, thank you so much for holding. You're on with the Acclivus Hour.
Hey, Grand Rising family. Thanks for taking my call. Sister Katrina, always good to hear your voice, and much respect to Brother Obadeli. I hope he's doing well. But listen, can you ladies go and get into a little deeper into the reason why there's domestic violence? And let me help you out and give you a question to respond to. Do you find this more domestic violence statistically more in the Black community, Hispanic community, Latino community, Ecuadorian, Honduras, or is it pretty much the same all over in terms of your experience?
I feel like that's a difficult question for us to answer, because with Acclivus, the majority of our population is the Black and Brown community because of the different neighborhoods that we service. So I think that would be difficult for us to answer. However,
I got the Black and Brown. I got the Black, but what's the Brown?
Brown is Hispanic.
Okay,
Hispanic, Latino.
So that's a separate community. That Hispanic community is not like the Black community. I don't know why we keep saying that, but let me go with that. Make that comparison.
Well,
between the Latino community and the Black community, is there more or equal in terms of domestic violence?
I think, let me just clear up. So I think, Cliff, the point Trinae was making for Acclivus, of course, we're in 11 high violence communities across the city of Chicago, and most of those communities are predominantly African American, but there is a little bit of crossover for some communities that are a little bit more brown, Latinx, Hispanic communities, and so I think the point on that is that our outreach would probably be reflective of, our behavioral health services and our clientele would be reflective of the communities that we serve. So Acclivus behavioral health services are primarily provided to African Americans. So to be able to say, do we have more Black African American clients? Absolutely. And that's primarily because our target audience is largely, and the communities that we serve in are largely African American. So to make the comparison between how many Black clientele, how many Black folks we have as clients who are experiencing domestic violence versus the smaller percentage of Hispanic or Latinx clients, it might not really be the best comparison. I mean, we'd have to have somebody on who maybe provides. I could Google it while we're sitting here, but I think that's
okay. There's a reason, Sister Katrina, why I'm asking that, because I'm saying that from a historical standpoint, from the origin. There's a reason why Black people, and I'm not condoning it, but what I'm saying is that for mental health, you got to go and relate this back to slavery.
Oh, absolutely.
Slavery still had an impact on us as a people. And let me ask you this question. Are you ladies familiar with the term butt breaking? B as in boy, U as an umbrella, CK, buck breaking.
I am. Yep, I am.
Okay.
How you
So
would break down a big black male slave, how you would break them down with the most humiliating, degrading acts that are disgusting and things like that.
Publicly brutalized.
So historically speaking, what the slave master, what the white man would do was that he would sexually penetrate and violate the biggest and strongest in the crowd, the black man, and do it in front of the rest of the slaves, the male slaves. Now, he would continue to do that in order to emotionally break them down and disturb them. So if they do that, these devils do that constantly, don't you think that has an impact on black people in addition to breeding black babies and having what they would call a stud? So all these things has happened in the black community, which is still pervasive mentally in our community, which has never happened in any other community. And this is the reason why I'm saying this with any other ethnic group. So in terms of reparation, when we bring up the issue of reparations, we need treatment for that. All of us have mental health issues because of what happened with us through slavery. And that's the point I'm making. And so we need to take this serious. And when our brother sits there, man, and beat up on a sister, when our brother does that, he's doing it only because of the fact that, historically speaking, we had strong black men that would whip our women during slavery. So the point I'm making is that these are habitual acts of horrendous and wickedness that's been pervasive. And what I'm saying, that legacy still lives in us, if that makes any sense. So mental health, in terms of what we do, we get oppressed even today, right? See if this makes sense, ladies. We get oppressed by the white man, whether it be the job or whether anything else happens. And then rather our men becoming stronger, then let me tell you what commonly happens here in Connecticut. Our brother will go out, okay, lose his job, go out, drink, right? And then all of a sudden, now the wife wants to know, well, where you been, sweetheart? And he gets very confrontational. And guess what? Now he wants to take it out on his wife or his
really
partner.
Mad about the situation.
And then what happens is that, right? And I'm done, right? Here's my last point. Then what happens is that the sister's supposed to sit there and take it. Guess what? She calls the white police, and the white police comes and beat the both of them. That's what happened.
Yeah. And
you see what I'm saying? So this is an issue in the black community. Now, I don't know if it happens in the Hispanic community or the Mexican community, but in the black community, that's what I see that happens a lot. Let's speak on that.
Absolutely.
I do have something to say in regards to that. So when we talk about the legacy of slavery, we're really just talking about trauma. And trauma can definitely be passed through generations because it influences how people cope, how people communicate, and how they form relationships. But I don't want you to feel like just because we as Black people, we went through slavery as if it will automatically just connect to this is how we respond. We had to go, the men had to go through this, the women had to go through this. It's really about the ability to cope, how to deal with hard times. Like you mentioned, a man losing his job and then he go out to drink and now he gets questions and he wants to respond violently. Being able to cope and regulate your emotions, those are big tools that we teach when we have individuals who are dealing with domestic violence. Because if you were able to deal with that stressor of losing a job, potentially feeling further demeaned as a man because your wife is questioning you, a man has to be able to take those things, regulate himself, and be able to cope with the situation, find a way, a healthy outlet. The drinking may not have been a good thing, may not have been a good decision, because now your decision-making skills are altered. You're a little bit more irritable and emotional, and alcohol is a depressant. It's going to bring out those negative and sad emotions that he's already feeling as a result of losing his job. So the ability to cope and communicate and, kind of form those relationships in a healthy manner, I feel like that's the biggest thing, being able to deal with all those things and those traumas and everything. That's what's important. So that's why and also, as Katrina said, I couldn't provide those statistics, but we can Google those statistics. But as far as what we see at Acclivus, we do see a majority of African American women who are coming in as referrals and needing support with domestic violence. But it also could be other communities and other ethnicities. They may not feel as comfortable coming forward about what they're going through.
Good point. I'm going to try to take a few other calls. Thank you, Cliff, for calling with that. And with that, we're going to go
thank you, Cliff.
Yep. Tommy, thanks so much for holding. You're on with the Acclivus Hour.
First of all, let me just say good morning to you, Trina. I cannot tell you how much I miss you, both Deli and Malcolm. And I say hell yeah to your guests and for what you do.
Thank you.
You know, it's just a sad state of affairs that everything seems to keep coming back to the so-called white man, when really the embracing of your culture, the understanding of your history, and definitely living in reality, it breaks my heart because there are too many who survive to come back and tell the story and give us a principle and a thing called unity. And you know, Trina, that's why I'm saying thank you to both of you. Because see, really all you got to do for some of these conversations is just take a record and put a scratch on it and just play it until there ain't no more damn power. Because at some point, man, you got to have enough power to take the record off, put a new one on, and most importantly, thank God for this platform, WVON.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, seriously, could you ever imagine at such a time as this, the 250-year celebration in America is that we got Black people standing around here who have achieved everything, and we still looking for love.
Yeah.
Have a great show.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you so much for that. That's really profound.
Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, and I think something that Tommy touched on a little bit too is just when you talk about coping and all that, it's like we know what the problem is. I give you that is a jacked up problem, but what are you going to do about it? So I can, you keep parking in my parking spot every day. Okay, Trinae, she's wrong. She knows that that's my parking spot. She knows I need that spot. It's got a handicap sticker on, whatever it is. She keeps parking in my spot. I can't keep talking about Trinae as being the problem. I got to look at what can I do. So do I address her violently? Do I cuss her out? Do I slash her tires? Do I call the police on her? Do I, do what can I do? Do I go to try to talk to her about it? What are the things that I'm going to do to try to? And that's a real weird scenario. But just what am I going to do other than just to keep complaining that Trinae keeps parking in my parking spot? She's wrong. Okay, what am I going to try to do about it? But let me try to see if we can get these last two callers in. Good morning, Mama D. You're on with the Acclivus Hour.
Oh, thank you. Y'all guys rising.
Good morning.
No other race was a movable property thing called chattel for 246 years. Others were not beaten with bull whips, taught to hate themselves, and branded like cattle. Linking black and brown together when brown was the slave traders and blacks were the slaves that were traded does a great disservice to descendants of slaves and their crimes against humanity. However, as a Montessori educator, we educate the subconscious brains of children under the age of 4 through the 9 senses. I know that violence prevention should begin in preschool when you're educating the subconscious brains of children. And the key to a healthy relationship is that relationship between the mother and the child. We need more studies and involvement with that primary relationship that begins in the womb. With that in mind, I just want to end by inviting everybody, because I think most of us will agree that the symbol of murdered children is Mamie Till Mobley. And next Saturday, July 25th, if her son had lived, he would be 85 years old. Wow. And so we're inviting the parents of murdered children and the pain, Purpose Over Pain group, and others who have been impacted by violence, because it doesn't matter how long your child has been deceased, the pain is the same. So they can meet us on 71st in Kidsey, where we will be extending Emmett Hill Road to Pulaski, and with an honorary street naming for Emmett, for Mamie and L. Hill Road. She was a public school teacher for 23 years. But the point of the matter is, this will be the first time in history that a street has ever been named for a mother and a child. And with that in mind, maybe we can put more research and more studies into this vital relationship that begins in the womb, 9 months before the child is born on the earth.
Thank you, Mama Dave.
Do you think that all that has something to do with violence prevention?
Absolutely. I mean, no argument. I think I'm as I'm getting ready to take our last call, but no, I think we absolutely agree with that. And if we can say that slavery, then you know that that being in the womb and whatever those conditions are in the womb, and whatever kind of nurturing and things that you got in the womb, how that plays into a role once you get here, nursing and swaddling your baby, all that stuff. So that definitely has plays a role in the outcome of your children's emotional support and things like that, emotional health and well-being. Let me get this last caller in. It's calling under Mr. D. So we had Mama D on. Now we got Mr. D. Hey, how you doing? Welcome.
Good.
To
how you doing?
Hour.
Thanks for taking my call, Donna. First of all, I want to say that your radio personality I love it. I don't know why I love listening to you. Every time I hear your voice, I don't know why, it just inspires me. I love it. I love it. I love you. And, I really appreciate you ladies having this conversation. Cliff made some really, really, really good points. And I think what he was basically saying is that it's just for our understanding. I don't think he was trying to justify, any violence against women or anything. But it's information that we need to know as Black people. We need to continue to talk about it and do some lot. So my question is to you ladies is, what can we do as an average person, that, I'm involved with certain organization. I do what I need to do to help my community. What is it that the average person can do to help this whole situation? That's my question. What can we do? I'm an action oriented person. So put some actions out there that we can do.
And let me make sure I'm clear too. And thank you so much for those kind words. When you mean what can we do as far as trying to help and make a better impact on decreasing domestic violence against Black women?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, okay. Definitely.
I think, Trinae, it's probably a lot of first of all, there's a couple of things. It's supporting organizations that provide these kind of mental health, behavioral health services. So not only, Acclivus, but other organizations that do that. And I would imagine, and Trinae, I'm going to let you respond to this too, make yourself a committee of one. It kind of starts with us. So, I before I started working at Acclivus, I wasn't the biggest fan of, of mental health and therapy. You kind of like, that's white folks, I'm not going to go sit up on somebody's couch. I got friends I can talk to, whatever. I can talk to my pastor or whatever it is. But I've, over the past few, several months, have understood and have embraced, once I saw behavioral health in action, especially among our staff. When I saw Trinae and her team doing a group therapy session, I'm like, oh, this is for real. Like, oh, okay. Just having somebody to share some objective counsel, just listening, one is a big thing. But so I like to say, embracing and being a little bit more, I think our generation, I'm not sure how old you are, but, just, in that 50s and up kind of, we kind of tend to maybe not be.
I'm there.
We don't tend to always be as immediately receptive to therapy as I know my daughters, and, that I forgot what their Gen X, Gen Z, whatever that generation is, but they're immediately very receptive to and understand. Everybody is in therapy now. There was a time a few years ago, the younger group was into it, but I think now even our age group is into it. So I would say those are 2 or 3 things off the top of my head. But Trinae, what do you or Aaliyah?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. And let me see, Trinae and Aaliyah, they're the experts in this too. So let me hear what their thoughts are too.
I definitely agree with what you said, Katrina, and that's why that's what I love about Acclivus, the fact that we do have these services available for free, so there's no barriers, and we have multiple ways that individuals can receive help, whether it be a phone, video, in person. We make sure that the resources are accessible to the community, but I feel like ultimately breaking the cycle, it starts with education, early intervention, accountability, and creating communities where everyone feels safe, respected, and supported. But the education piece is so big. That's why we have these workshops and these group therapy sessions, and we have the individual things available because people really need to be properly educated on how to identify these things, what supports there are out there, what they can do. And there's a lot of different things that contribute to why people are in domestic violence relationships, or why people decide to act out in that way and victimize their partners. So just being able to address these different concerns and barriers like financial dependence, housing insecurity, limited access to support, it's just so many layers to this domestic violence. So there's no one size fits all in regards to this. There's so many things that we have to do as a people to fix this issue.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that, ladies. Have a great day. I love you
so
guys.
much. All right, keep listening.
Of course, you as well. Love you too.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're on the last couple of minutes. I don't know, Trinae or Ali, if you all wanted to share anything before I kind of start wrapping this up a little bit.
Well, I definitely want to share with you all our our numbers at Acclivus. So we actually have 2 numbers you can utilize. The first number, 708-887-8705, is our therapy referral line. Anybody who's interested can reach out. For whatever reason, if you are not able to get through to us on that line, you can call my work cell, which is 312-857-3794. Again, that's 312-857-3794. Reach out if you need help, if you need someone to talk to, if you got a question, if there's any type of support that you feel like you need. The services are free. We are available. We're ready to help. We are unbiased, non-judgmental, and we love to talk. And we love to listen as well. So feel free to reach out to us. We have female clinicians and we have a male therapist as well. So, and we will be planning. We have a couple groups, Katrina, that's in the works that we will be planning in the different communities that we service. We already have had the domestic violence awareness event in Augier Gardens. So we're going to try to hit each of the other communities that we service before the year is out. So look out for those.
Oh, cool. That's going to be good.
Details.
Okay. Well, I just want to run through a couple of quick little activities that are coming up again. Tomorrow is our Acclivus Community Picnic Celebration. It's going to be recognizing our 8th anniversary and Von's 20th anniversary working as a paid CVI employee. And we always make that distinction because he was volunteering before he was paid. So, but 20 years as a paid CVI employee. So that is at Abbott Park, 95th and State Street, right off of the Dan Ryan. And that's going to be from 2 to 7 p.m. tomorrow. Free. Come out and enjoy. And in addition to the fun and things that we're going to have, I know Black Men United has one of their big giveaways planned. So I say, yeah, come on out. Also, July 22nd is the extended deadline for the Acclivus NOFO, the Notice of Funding Opportunity grants and grant money that we are offering. So check out our website for more information on that. That deadline has been extended to July 22nd. And then July 24th, next Friday, we're going to be having a big community event. It's at our Fuller Park site, which is right where our administrative offices are, right off of right in the shopping center at 54th and Wentworth, right off of the Dan Ryan. And then July 25th, we have another Play Streets event in North Lawndale, right at Roosevelt and Harding. So you can come and check that out. All of these events are free, food, fun and all that stuff for all ages. Stay connected via our e-newsletter, which just went out this past Monday. But if you'd like get to be on that list, just email us and let us know that. But with that, that's all we have time for today. Trinae and Aaliyah, thanks so much for joining us. And the hour goes by so quick, but we thank everybody for taking the time to tune in or call in. And if you're your organization would like to join us in studio to share how you support violence prevention work, please email communications@acclivusinc.org. And in the meantime, on behalf of LaVon Stone Sr. and our board of directors, enjoy a great, safe, and peaceful weekend. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The talk of Chicago.